one very important part of Purim is Parshas Zachor. Is this Shabbos we remember Amalek, we read it as the Maftir in Shul, yeah? Okay, and the Haftarah, I believe, is we also read about Amalek, as it happened in Nach, where Shaul had to kill out Amalek. Before we start on the Pnimiyas Ha'inyanim, on the deeper levels, which we want to talk about today, we're going to have to go through the Pshat first, just to, for those of us that might be unfamiliar with the Pshat, it's important to know what we're talking about. And for those of us that are familiar with the Pshat, it's always good to have a review, to have it at the forefront of our mind as we discuss. So firstly, who is Amalek? And what's its relevance to Purim? Amalek is a nation who attacked the Yidden when the Yidden left Mitzrayim. Okay? We had just left Mitzrayim. We were a new nation. No slaves had ever left Mitzrayim, and here you have 3 million people walking out in broad daylight. Mitzrayim was smashed to smithereens, nothing left of them. The Makkos were terrible. 10 months almost, I think it was, worth of Makkos. What was left of Mitzrayim? Nothing. Finally, whatever's left, it does chase the Yidden into the Yam Suf, and they'll wash up on shore. Okay? What survived in Mitzrayim? Perhaps Pari himself, who later became king of Nineveh. Nothing else survived in Mitzrayim. The world was petrified of the Yidden. The Yidden were this powerful nation. Everyone was trembling. Those who lived in Eretz Yisrael and knew that the Yidden were approaching and were coming for their land, they didn't know it was going to take 40 years, right? They thought it was going to be a matter of days. They didn't know what to do with themselves. This was terrifying. And in this amazing moment where the Yidden are feeling so elated and so incredible, and the entire world is in fear and in awe of the Yidden, at that moment, this nation called Amalek comes and says, we are going to start up with this unstoppable nation. We are going to smash the people who Mitzrayim couldn't, And that was a terrible chutzpah. Hello? How could you? Now, the truth is that Amalek was not successful in their war. The Yidden did win. Amalek was not successful in their war. But although Amalek got burnt and scalded from trying to start with Am Yisrael, they did weaken Am Yisrael themselves. They got the people on the outskirts, the people who were lagging behind. It says they took one maidservant as a captive. They also weakened the image of Am Yisrael in our minds, and the mind of the world. Oh, they're not so untouchable. Okay. So, Amalekim were the first people to start up with us in the Midbar. That set the tone for the Yidden not being untouchable. From that, we now have a mitzvah in the Torah. It's the 3 particular mitzvahs, a positive and negative mitzvahs, of remembering Amalek, not forgetting Amalek, and destroying Amalek. Okay? The mitzvah to destroy Amalek only applies when there's a Yiddish king in Eretz Yisrael, and the Yiddish king is told by the Navi to destroy Amalek. When did that happen? For the very first Yiddish king, Shaul HaMelech, right? Shaul HaMelech is the very first Yiddish king, and Shaul HaMelech has to go and destroy Amalek. Okay, Shaul HaMelech is told by Shmuel HaNavi that he is to destroy Amalek, okay? It's not easy for him. He doesn't like the idea of killing out a nation. It's not a mitzvah that we can understand in our physical minds, okay? Hashem takes the prerogative to destroy a nation. The idea of an earthquake, of a tsunami, of things happening where seemingly innocent people and innocent animals and innocent children get destroyed is not something that human beings can take into our hands, right? And this is a one and only time where we as people, as Yidden, are told to go and destroy a nation. Okay? And Shaul tries to destroy Amalek. He does a very, very good job, but because he didn't follow the command properly, he let Agag live. He let Agag was the king of Amalek. He let some of the animals live. And lo and behold, from that allowing one night Agag and some of the animals to live, that gave room for the ancestors of Haman to be born, And we suffered the Purim Gezerah, should we say, at Haman's hands because of not eradicating Amalek properly. And Haman is the extension, the continuation of Amalek. Today, we do not know who Amalek is. Okay? Just because you don't like your neighbor, and just because your neighbor is such an Amalek, doesn't mean they're Amalek, okay? You cannot start pointing fingers and saying who's Amalek. We do not have that practical mitzvah of destroying Amalek anymore. But for the past 2,000, 3,000 years, even though we do not have the mitzvah of destroying Amalek, we don't have a Yiddish king to do it, we don't have a Navi to tell us to do it, right? We don't even know who Amalek is. Yet, every single year, we still do the mitzvah of remembering Amalek, and we still read it in the Torah when it comes to Shabbos before Purim, as well as the Torah reading of Purim itself, as well as we say it in the Sheish Schiras. You say Sheish Schiras, yeah, and the Siddur. It's very much part of. One second, why? Why 3,000 years later are we still daily and annually remembering Amalek? What does Amalek have to do with us? So the physical people of Amalek, we're not going to deal with. We can't. But do you know that there is within each of us an Amalek? Okay? What does that mean, there's an Amalek within each of us?
Sorry, just one thing. How do the animals affect us? The fact that I never knew about the animals being...
Yeah,
why should it be...
How would we struggle from the animals being alive?
Okay. No one should say that this is an Amaleki animal. This product belongs to Amalek. Okay. We bought beautiful Amaleki carbonates. There's the German Shepherd, yeah, bulldog, whatever. Okay. There's the Amaleki lamb, whatever.
Why did Shaul keep alive? What was his motive
so
to
Shaul
keep
felt
alive the animals?
He wants to bring us carbonas. Yeah. Shmuel said destroy them. The people said, look, let's keep the best of the animals. We'll make a big celebration for Hashem tomorrow. Shmuel comes the next day and says, hello, what have you done? Shaul says, I followed Hashem's command, successful campaign, look how we wiped them out. And Shmuel said, what do I hear? Oh, that's the animals, you get them for carbonas. Yeah, but Hashem told you wipe them out. Yeah, but we'll bring them for carbonas. He didn't get it. Okay? the actual Haftarah is fascinating to read, and the Haftarah is like a whole separate shir. You can talk about the idea of lahakshiv mizevach toiv, ahlo shemaya mizevach toiv lahakshiv mechelav elam, is listening to Hashem not better than a good carbon. Is following Hashem's command not better than the fat of the best of the animals. Do what Hashem said, because that night Agag made space for Haman's ancestors to be born. What does that represent within ourselves?
Yeah, what is it now? I can understand Haman, understand all that, but where
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I never read it. I never saw it. I can make a suggestion. that just like you have Lashon Hara and Avak Lashon Hara, just like you have Avodah Zarah and kind of Avodah Zarah, yeah. So you have Amalek in its full strength, and then you have the subtle Amaleks, which are not really Amalek. I mean, that's just my own presumptions. I don't even know. I can't really say my own things. Okay, that's not what we're here for. You're not here to hear my own stuff. Okay, next. Okay, so now that we know who Amalek is and what it's all about, what's really important for us today is that what does Amalek represent? What is Amalek? Okay, every nation in the world, every Goyish nation, is a different force of Tumah, Milmaila, which is then manifest and represented by a physical human nation of people. Just like an animal represents something above, and Adam Harishon named all the animals. He saw the animal, he saw its koyach, and he named it because of its koyach Lamaila. If an animal, a kelev, is kuloi leiv, that's why it's called a kelev. Yeah? Okay. An aryeh represents, aryeh from Merkava, a certain powerful, that's why it has majesty in that, yeah? But because of what it is. Each animal, it's a human, it's the animalistic nature that the animal has is a manifestation of the ruchniistic source of that animal. And the name that it has in Lashon Kodesh is the name that Adam Harishon chose because of its source. Okay? Everything in this world is not stam. Likewise, a nation, if there's a nation, I'm talking about 70 nations of the world. Today, I mean, there's sub-nations, yeah? There's 70 nations of the world. They each have a sar in Shemayim. There's Esav, there's the sar shel Esav. I mean, the Malach for Yaakov, for real, you know? These things happen. So, Amalek is a people, yes, but they are also a spiritual force, a spiritual energy. Okay, a negative spiritual energy. Okay, so if all nations are some koyach l'mayla, we have, for example, the 7 nations of Canaan. Yeah? HaKanani, HaChiti, HaMordi, HaPrizi, HaVusi, yeah, good. These 7 nations of Canaan, we know, represent the 7 midos, or the 7 spheres that we have within ourselves, right? We come to Spheres HaOmer, we try to fix our chesed, right? We try to fix our gevura, we try to fix our tiferes, netzach, yesod, and malchus. We're working on refining ourselves at chesed. I shouldn't be loving my copies. I should be loving Hashem and other yidden and mitzvahs. I shouldn't be afraid of spiders. I should have Yiras Shamayim. I shouldn't be wowed and impressed by fashion. I should be wowed and impressed by Edelkeit and Yiddish beauty and Torah learning. You know, that's what we're trying to work on ourselves. Each of the 7 nations represent one of these 7 midos. And that's why when we come into Eretz Yisrael, Hashem says, get rid of these nations. Tell them to go live elsewhere. Tell them to keep Shev mitzvahs and behave themselves in Eretz Yisrael, or fight them. Why? Because if you live amongst these bad influence people, they will influence you negatively, and you'll be corrupted like them. Tachlis, we didn't get rid of them like we should have, and they did corrupt us, and we went into goals because of that. Okay? So they, yes, they are people, but they represent negative midos, and they affected that within ourselves. Okay, so here we go. Do you see there is, in number 2, yeah? We have a posuk at the end of number 2 from Tzvanya. Yeah? Tzvanya says, Ki az ehefoich el ha'amim, sofer brura, likre kulam, b'shem Hashem ula'avdoi shchem echad. Okay? Which means, Tzvanya Hanavi, I believe he's one of the Treyasa, right? He says about Mashiach's time that in the future, all of the nations will be transformed and they will speak beautifully and call on Hashem's name and serve Hashem. Well, that's lovely, yes. All of the nations of the world have transformation. They represent something that could be negative. In its raw sense, it's negative. But in its refined sense, it's beautiful. Okay? With lots of things in this world, in their raw sense, they're not so fantastic. I mean, go try chilies, yeah? Onions. In their raw sense, they're not so fantastic. But in their refined sense, they're amazingly incredible. So yes, all of the nations of the world will have birur. You look around, not every guy is so terrible. Yes, birur is happening, yeah? Things are changing over. There's positivity all around. Things are transforming. Okay, so yes, they represent, all of the 70 nations represent something negative. There are 70 wolves attacking the lamb, the sheep of Am Yisrael, right? But they'll be transformed. But then compare that to the first pasuk of number 2. In Parashas Balak, Bilam is trying to give klulas to the Yidden, and instead he gives brachas, right? And he gives prophecies, he predicts the future, and he says in his nevuah, Reishes goyim Amalek v'charisei adi oived. Compare that. All the nations are going to be transformed, says Safanya. But Bilam tells us in his nevuah that Amalek, only not Amalek, they are the first of the goyim and they will be completely eradicated. With Mashiach's arrival, Amalek will not be transformed. So hold on a second. There's all these nations. They can all these negative midos and things which are trying to bring us Yidden down and influence us negatively can all be transformed to the positive. Except for Amalek. But what's wrong with Amalek? What's the midah within us that's Amalek that's attacking us so badly that it cannot be transformed? I mean, what can't be transformed? What can't be used for Kedusha? What's so bad? What's so bad about them that has to be completely eradicated? And yes, it is Kaldkeit. Okay, so number 3. What is this energy of Amalek that's so terrible that has to be completely eradicated within ourselves? So we're going to read the Parashat Zachor from the Varim, was it Kitese, yeah? And we'll look at a few words within it. So, Zachor es asher asalacha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. B'derech b'tzeischa b'Mitzrayim, on your way when you were leaving Mitzrayim. Asher karcha b'derech, they chanced upon you on the way. V'yizanek b'chakal necha loshu macharecha, and they yizanek. Yes, yeah, all the weak people that were strangling behind you. V'ata ayif yagei, you were very tired. V'lo yoreh, they did not fear Hashem. V'hayan it will be. When Hashem gets rid of your enemies that are surrounding you, in Eretz Yisrael Hashem gives you to inherit. You should wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget. So this is the parasha that we read. Okay? Let's look at a few words here. Firstly, what is the terrible avera which they did? So you mentioned the word karcha. Karcha means, Rashi gives us three pshatim. Okay, thank you. Rashi gives us 3 pshatim there. One is that they chanced upon you, but then he says they cooled you down. They cooled you down. Everyone was in fear of Yisrael. We ourselves felt undefeatable, and suddenly they come and they cool us down. Not so. And what does Rashi tell us there about the hot bath, right? Everyone loves this Rashi. That you have this hot bath that everyone's afraid to jump into. It's scalding hot. Comes one person, jumps in. Don't care if I get burnt. Okay, that person gets scalded and burnt. But tachlis, they cool it down for everybody else, and they teach you it's not so terrible. You know when you're dealing with in school with children, and one child dares to be chutzpahdik and break the rules, so that child gets punished for breaking the rules. Even though that child got punished for breaking the rules, suddenly all the other kids don't think it's so bad to break the rules. But I punished him. Yeah, but he did it. Okay? As soon as one person does it, likewise in town, we live in a community, right? When one person's parents get there and does something that's, suddenly, even if that person gets told off and gets looked down upon and gets whatever consequences, natural or not natural, they get, suddenly it becomes, I saw so-and-so does that, so, but she's wrong, so what? Okay? That's the idea of cooling something down. Okay? One person does it, one person starts, and that person, in a way, is a trailblazer in the negative sense. They are responsible for all the repercussions of their actions. It's a very serious thing. So that's what Amalek did. They cooled us down. Now, look at the word Amalek. The shirish of the word Amalek, Molak. Not a shirish because there's never shirish, the nation. But still, the root of the word, the etymology, is that how you say it? Etymology. Okay. Molak. What's Molak? So, you know Malika in Karbonis? So sometimes you bring a behemoth as a carbon. Okay, a behemoth is a ganze chef. It needs shchita. Shchita is another idea of drawing out the kedusha from the animal, a separate thing. Shchita. Then you have a person who cannot afford to bring a ganze behemoth for a carbon. They still want to bring a carbon to Hashem, so they bring a little kleine birdie. So a little birdie has a tiny little neck, and the kohen needs to have a beautiful long nail. I don't know how to do it, I'm not manicurist, but the kohen have these long nails, thumbnails that is, and they do something called malika, where from the back of the neck of the animal, they just give it a flick. And they swipe, and the malika, malak, is that it just swipes off.
And it dies.
It's shchita, but shchita with a nail.
Yeah.
Okay? Malak,
That's
or malak es roshai, the kohen removes the head from the body of the animal. That's Amalek. Amalek removes the head from the body. What does it mean? What does it mean to cool a person down? What does it mean, like Asher Karcha, they cooled us down? You know how you cool people down? Al Pi Chassidus we learn, and psychology will tell you the exact same thing, that the way to the heart and to the practical changing a person is through the mind. The way we think should be the way we feel and the way we behave, naturally and healthily. In a healthy sense, you learn something, you understand something, you have a certain awareness that affects your behavior. If you know how bad sugars and fats are, it'll help you a little bit behave in that way. If you discover something is good or not good, it triggers the emotion toward that thing and it triggers the behaviors, okay? There is a natural flow from the mind to the heart to the practical. That's the way things should go. What does Amalek do? What you know is one thing. What you feel and do is something else. Separate it. Or Malakas Reisha. Remove the head. Who does this affect most? Who gets attacked? No, who suffers most from this type of attitude of removing what we know from the way we feel? Those who are weaker, those who are not so strong, those who are struggling in some format. They get very badly affected by this situation. And it's not fair. You want to attack the people that have strength. You want to attack the people that are that will be able to fight back and to be resilient and grow. Okay. But why are you picking on those that are on the outside of the camp? Why are you picking on those? That's Amalek. It affects those who are a little wavery. And that's not fair. That's a terrible clipper. Okay? I want to speak a bit about this idea in our day-to-day lives, okay? You go to shul, you go to somewhere, a shir, a lecture, a chvesvos, and there's a really, really good drasha, okay? And it's inspirational, and it's uplifting, and you really feel on fire. Somebody was speaking about the importance of Tilim Zogan and how special it is, and you feel really... And one person makes a snide remark, makes a joke, makes fun of the way the person looks who's speaking. Pop. Ruins the whole thing. The inspiration goes down like that. How could you pop the whole thing? It's terrible. The person spent hours preparing this drasha. They spoke really, really well. Everyone's on board. Everyone wants to follow, wants to do. One joke in a second. Asher karcha. Cools it down. You know this, you learned this from the Lav Davka. Whatever. I should have titled this worksheet. So what? You learned Lav Davka, so? Have you learned? Okay. So that's the idea of Amalek. We see it today a lot. You know, you're asking me about a shidduch for one of the girls that I teach in school, yeah? And you ask me questions. I don't answer you with seichel. Instead, my nose twitches. I raise an eyebrow. What does that do to the shidduch? I didn't say anything about the girl.
Body language.
I'm telling you, she's lovely. She comes to school on time. She's very reliable. She's very talented. She's But that eyebrow went up. Asher karcha. That's all you need to cool someone off. It ruins everything. Where it comes from is another story. Okay, that's a completely another story. Where it comes from, what caused it, why I'm feeling. But the fact that we cool someone off, cool ourselves off, cool another person off. When I hear something and I know something and I say, okay, so it's true. So, chilled out, relaxed. Take it easy, not so intense. That's Amalek. Okay, what's the problem with Amalek? Why is that so bad? Why is it that Kanani, Chiti, Amodi, Prizi, the rest of them can all have a birur, can all be transformed, can all be used for the good, except for this Amalek? What's so bad about cooling things off? What's so bad about taking it a little easy? What's so bad about saying, so what? Or lav dafka? Why? Why is that against Yiddishkeit? Why is that need to be eradicated and destroyed? It can be transformed? Here's what it is. You see, the whole Yiddishkeit, why did Hashem create the world? Start from the very beginning. Yes, there's many reasons why Hashem created the world, because there's actually 5 reasons, according to the Yud, K, Vav, K, and the Kotzei Shel Yud. Everything in this world has those layers. But why did Hashem create the world? The ultimate reason. Hashem wanted us, people, to take a place which does not recognize Hashem, and make Hashem comfortable and recognized here. That's right. And all Torah mitzvahs is about that. Our whole life is about making a bracha on something, acknowledging it's from Hashem, behaving in a way that we represent Hashem. We are Hashem's ambassadors to planet Earth. When will Hashem finally be felt down here? With the coming of Mashiach, right? So when will that finally happen when Mashiach comes? we are in a process of making Hashem recognized here. How do we do that? We learn Torah, we are exposed to ideas, we intake concepts, and then we put it into action, right? Well, if there's a split between that, if the intake of concepts and knowing stuff is not affecting the action, is not making us better Yidden, is not making us Tzav Hashem, well then, you're ruining the whole plan of creation. Like, we're not getting any closer to Mashiach. We cannot be functional Yidden without it. And the Pasuk tells it to us. The first time actually that Amalek is mentioned before the Parshas Zachar time in Dvarim, you have in Parshas Beshalach, the very last Pesukim of Parshas Beshalach, talks about when Amalek came, Vayaveh Amalek v'yilachem in Yisrael b'Refidim, yeah? And you have the Maisa where Moshe had to keep his hands up all day in order for the Yidden to fight Amalek, and as long as Moshe's hands were facing upward, the Yidden had Emunah, and they fought Amalek. As soon as Moshe's hands got weak, they failed. And you have the very, very last pasuk of Parshas Beshalach says, Vayomer, Ki yad al case yudkei, milchama laHashem ba'amalek midar dar. Okay? So, I'll point out two things in backwards order. Firstly, is that the fight of Amalek is generational. Just because we don't have Amalek today doesn't mean we're not fighting Amalek. Midar dar. The pasuk in the Torah is telling you every single generation we are fighting Amalek, okay? We, in our generation, also have to fight Amalek, even though we don't have people that are Amalek around us, necessarily. But the important thing in this pasuk is ki yad al kes yirkei. What does it mean in the pasuk? I believe it means, if someone has a different translation, fine, but I believe it means that the hand of Hashem is on his throne, meaning he's swearing that there's a war against Amalek for all generations.
Swearing that?
Swearing that there's a war against Amalek for all generations. Okay? But it's a very interesting lush. Okay, I'll read you the translation as they put it at the end of Parashas Beshalach. Moshe built a Mizbeach and named the Mizbeach Hashem as my miracle. Previous pasuk, Hashem Nissi. Okay? And he said, I guess Moshe said then, there is a hand on the throne of Hashem which swears that there will be a war against Amalek from generation to generation. Okay? Good?
So right then he saw it.
Yes.
He knew how to.
Well, he's giving you the nevuah. Moshe's talking in the name of Hashem.
Yeah.
Okay. But I want to focus on the interesting words in the pasuk. How do you say the throne of Hashem? Kisei. It's missing a letter there. Yeah? How do you say Hashem? Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. It's missing a Vav-Kei.
Yeah, right.
And I believe Rashi tells us there that the throne of Hashem and the name of Hashem is incomplete until Amalek is eradicated. Yeah. Yiddishkeit is incomplete until Amalek is eradicated. The throne of Hashem, the name of Hashem is incomplete. What does it mean, the throne of Hashem? What does it mean, the name of Hashem? What's the problem? Hashem is Malchus. Hashem running this world. Hashem being present here cannot happen as long as you're removing the head and the understanding from the feelings. As long as you're cooling everything down. As long as you're saying, yeah? That is the antithesis of the whole Yiddishkeit. The whole Yiddishkeit is about fire and passion and excitement and warmth and going and doing it. How can you just pop it all? Now, what's with the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei? Why only half a name? So, if you see here, it's not so neat, but if you see there's 4 lines, Yud and K and Vav and K, yeah, I didn't want to hey there, but yeah, okay. The name of Hashem, the 4 letters of Hashem's name, the Yud and the K represent Seichel, intellect. The Vav and the K represent emotions and the way your emotions affect your behavior. Okay? So more particularly speaking, the Yud, this is something which is discussed at length in Chassidus, but we'll touch upon it now. You've heard it in previous Shurim already if you've been here before. The Yud represents Chochmah. Chochmah can also be Emunah. It is that innate knowledge that Hashem exists. The innate awareness, Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim. It is this way. I don't understand it. I cannot explain it to you. It is. There's an awareness, okay? The concept of things just are that way. That deep awareness, the innate emunah that a yid has, that is chachma. It's that pint level, everything starts from that yud, okay? When you take that awareness and you can understand it, and you can explain it, and you can detail it, and you can draw it out, and bring it down, and build something from that little yud, that becomes a hey. That's hey, the first hey of Hashem's name represents bina, understanding. We have in terms of the parts of the spheres, which is the pattern of the entire creation, chokhmah, bina, and da'at are the 3 intellectual spheres. So the name of Hashem, Yud and K, represent chokhmah and bina. Then you have the vav. What's the vav? Vav is taken from the seichel and drawing it down to the midis, chut hashidra, the spinal cord. The brain controls the entire body through that vav. Okay? Vav is also 6. Well, there are 6 particular midos. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Chayid, and Yisoid. Okay? And the last hey is the malchus. The malchus of making all those emotions actually mean something practically in this world. So if you have the Yud K, that's represents seichel, and the vavke, and that represents the emotions and the making it practical. Well, if the name of Hashem is incomplete and you only have Yud-K, well, yes. As long as there's Amalek around, you only have Yud-K. As long as Amalek's around, you could be the biggest Talmud Chacham and know it all. But if it's not affecting you, hello, that's such an Amalek. Why is it not affecting? What's going on? Why is the cut there? Getting rid of Amalek will bring that connection back. If you noticed, those who are familiar with the 10 spheres, yeah? We mentioned that the Yud is Chachma, the Hey is Bina, right? We didn't mention that. And we mentioned the Vav is the 6 midas and the Hey is the Malchus. We mentioned all the spheres except for Das. So what's Das? Those who have been to Tanya, what's Das? Das is bringing down your seichel to your feelings, making it matter to you. Amalek is again for Das. The so what? So what does that mean to you? That's the das, the making it matter. Because what is das, we said in Tanya, is chabrus, connection. Allowing the seichel to give birth to midos. Well, if you don't have that connection, then you've separated Yud-K and Vav-K. The connection of Yud-K and Vav-K, that's the das. Now, don't worry, there are times in the Torah where we mention Yud-K without Vav-K. It's not a negative, it's not Amalek, it's just referring to the Seichel. It's okay. Or the higher aspects of Hashem, or the part which is not so connected to this world. It's okay. Here, particularly, it's a negative sense.
It also is together with the case instead of...
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we know what the problem of Amalek is, we say, Kiba Apam Har Guish. You know, in the Birkas Yaakov, Shimon Levi Achim, yeah? And with their anger, they killed a man. Apam actually means nose, because the anger flares from the nose, that steam coming out of the nose, you know, the comics, the imagery, yeah? Never saw it, but okay. So, it's from the Torah. Chor enough. Okay, keep Apam Har Guish, with your nose you can kill a man. All you need to do to kill someone's reputation and life and everything is just flick of your nose, that's it. You have to twitch your nose? Practice it, it can kill people, it's great. Okay? Keep Apam Har Guish. Is there not one of the al-chaits we say about the evasive with our nose? It doesn't mean this, but people also interpret it to mean those are areas that we just do by such Amaleki things is so subtle, so nothing. But it removes the seichel and the emotions, and it just makes things like, okay, whatever you said about that girl, whatever, it's not affecting me because you made an Amalek there. Okay, what is the solution? How do we fight it? How do we fix it? Okay, so number one is that we are in Adar. What's Adar? Simcha. When somebody is ruining it and Amaleking it, the solution is passion, joy, excitement. That's the direct opposite of that Amalek. When you are focused and involved and going to full verse ahead, what happens when somebody makes a snide comment about that amazing drush or that amazing class? The next person goes, how wonderful it is, and I'm going to take something on, and we're going to make a campaign, and that makes the person who made the snide comment look stupid. It flips the coin, yeah? So the joy of Adar, the passion, the excitement, that gets rid of the whole Haman decided to destroy the Yidden. He's the Amalek, right? He sees Mordechai is happy when he hears the Utzuetz of the Sufar, yeah? Can't handle the joy of Mordechai. He can't handle to see them happy, right? Okay. I want to talk for a minute just about another manifestation of this. You asked where did the Amalek come from? Yeah, what makes us, you asked this, right? What makes us, what makes us give these Amaleki type of cooling down things? It's called chutzpah b'li tam. Chutzpah b'li tam, unbridled.
Yeah.
I also said
I guess it must be the Baruch thing then. Okay, I'll tell you, Haman HaRasha had everything going for him.
Yeah.
He was. How many wives he had, I don't know, but he had 200 children. Okay? Bonai Chaim Azoinei Navichei, he had it all going for him.
Yeah.
10 many wives, 200 sons. And now I'm not sure what children or sons 200. Anyways, then he has all the wealth. He stole from Malchus based Yehuda, never mind. But he was the wealthiest man of his time. Okay? He had a very schmancy house, extremely, which was given to Mordechai and Esther afterwards. Well, he was second to the king. Never mind second to the king. He was basically the king. He had the signet ring.
Yeah.
The whole world has to bow down to him. He had everything. He had every reason to be chutzpahdik. He had every reason to be arrogant. For good reason, with tam. Yet where was his arrogance? Dafka in the Belitam. What was his problem? Nothing matters to me if he won't bow down. What's your issue? One old Jew won't bow his head. Give it up. When a person feels themselves to be it, without any rhyme or reason, not because he has this or he has that, or there's a reason for him to be arrogant. With all his reasons to be arrogant, he's arrogant just because he is arrogant. Just because Mordechai won't bow down. What? When a person's like that, they end up being an Amalek. They end up cooling down everything else. You know why? Because you're all getting excited. I'm not interested. I'm not getting involved. And those people give these snide comments. It's all guy thing. Remember, guy is the opposite of self-esteem, yeah? When people have self-esteem, they don't do this. When you ask me a shidduch, and I don't give you a reason why there's a problem with the person, I don't tell you, everything's wonderful, you have to be careful about this, or yeah, but do you know that she has this, yeah? Instead, I just, you're a lovely girl.
You can do better.
Okay? That's when it becomes a problem.
Right.
It's the Belitam aspect.
Right.
Okay? And the solution to that Belitam, is dafka the joy, dafka the excitement. Amalek says, so what? You say, yeah, what? Yeah? Lav dafka. Actually, because you had to say, thing. And also because we learned this last lesson, we learned this last week about why he doesn't bow down, because bowing down represents giving yourself, your seichel, your entire being over to the other. We follow from Hashem. The reason why the Yidden suffered the Gezerah is because they went away from following Hashem. So bowing down to Haman is making the Gezerah worse, not better. The Gezerah will only get better when we increase our emunah and our toikif and strengthen Yiddishkeit.
The rest of the Eden all bowed down to Haman.
Probably,
Until they were Mordechai, until they learned from Mordechai not to. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's shir. Wow, we finished early.